we must be interacting with all the risk teams or control functions within the bank. The success has actually prompted all of us to be open to thoughts, and I think that is something which we all have to be, which we have to continue, and we should believe that whatever we have been practicing has been helping us to reach these leadership positions. This is definitely a matter of pride, and I would definitely hope that the continuous openness to these ideas from across control functions and business teams will help us to do very well in the UK space also.
Thanks, Naveen. I think that's a good news for us that we are going to have a new app and certainly make use of the UPI in multiple channels or multiple platforms. That's certainly good information as well as a new prospect analyst. If I could, sorry to interrupt. If I just add to few points which Naveen made, and to your question that what next with some of these UPI players, right? So I think what is undisputable is that we have 43% market share, by far the most dominant, by far the most efficient. If you have used PhonePe versus if you use some of the other payment apps, you will find the quality difference in terms of usage, the downtime, that will be there, right? But that is not all. Now, if you look at all the UPI players, they have all pivoted to other than UPI. UPI remains a base. The PhonePe today is not only a UPI app. You can do 10,000 other things in PhonePe, right? Same is with the other units. Look at BharatPe, for example. It started with UPI, but they pivoted towards lending, investment, saving account. So as a bank, what we are now doing is that we are actually now splitting ourselves also deeper within their ecosystem. So today with the BharatPe, we have 10 other streams which are under discussion, right from banking services, accounts for merchants, accounts for the founders, accounts, investment options, lending options, credit cards, PPI cards, various other things, right, which will only help the UPI player ecosystem and also help the bank. Similarly, with PhonePe and with the few others. So I think what is important is we have ourselves as a bank not rested on our laurels. So what Naveen and team have built is absolutely spectacular, and I think the collective effort across the bank, and this is where the power of one bank comes, right? Across retail, credit card, transaction bank, digital bank, corporate coverage, all the control functions, we are all working towards how do we use this partnership and dominance to do more things with the entire ecosystem. So that is UPI 2.0, UPI and beyond. That's, I think. Thanks, Ajay.
So if you see that digital technology, which is a emerging market, is there, and digital is supported by the technology, because technology is the backbone is there also. So I asked on the Mahesh there, what is your technology strategy to support our digital journey in next 2 to 3 years?
Thanks, Suresh. I think this is a very key question for us. Like what Ajay had really called out, yes, bank has been possibly the early adopters of creating the digital revolution. Having stated that, we probably have a lot of catch-up to do, given that we probably fell behind the curve a bit over the last few years, couple of years, I would say. And what is important is a lot of learnings that we have to take from the new players in the market. Typically, you would say like the fintech players, who challenges on the use of technologies and the power of making them work for scale. And that's very important. So to me, I think, given the fact that we as a bank have shifted our whole focus into how we accelerate our retail capabilities, our outreach on the retail side, and in terms of how we are going to acquire our clients using partnerships as one of the key channels, I would say there are about 4 areas that from a technology strategy perspective that we're really working towards. Very quickly, the first amongst them is our own core. Our core itself requires a fair bit of maintenance, and I say maintenance means it needs to be more nimble, to be able to help us scale, which means we call it as follow out of the core. And there is fair bit of actions that we're doing around it in terms of enabling far more quicker responses from the core and ability to set up far more better products in the core banking itself. That's one. The second part is in terms of how do I create channels that are more agile for us to enable services. Very important. And to do that, we have, if you sum all the APIs that this bank has, I think we have in excess of 5,000 plus APIs. Is that a good statement to make? The answer is no. The answer is a big no. The answer is about creating how do you package and productize your APIs and make API banking as a channel. I think that's very important. Which means that the ability to support the bank, extend its reach through partners, through a variety of various fintechs to acquire and service customers is very critical. Towards that, the strategy that we really we are looking at is to re-architect our whole API banking. While at the same time you keep your, I would say you can't do a hard bypass kind of an approach here, but effectively you continue to do some staging work around what happens in the current APIs, but more importantly, rebuild an architecture that supports growth. That's the way of the future. Today, anything and everything that we interact, it's interaction not through a file uploads, not through a traditional method, but through APIs. So that is the next big one that we are focusing on. The third thing, and my colleague out here will see that, who's going to create a lot of analytics, to enable them in terms of enabling the data ability to consolidate, transform the data into a consumable approach is at the big area. Today Ajay and Naveen alluded to the fact that we have tons and tons of data. You'll be surprised that we're sitting on over 600 plus terabytes of information. But to make sense of a data and to make it, see there is a data layer, there is a knowledge layer, and on top of it is intelligence. To create that intelligence to be able to help us is something that is the next third strategy that we are really working towards. And last but not the least is about, when you do all of this, is about making sure that you are in a position to build a team or co-create with a bunch of partners. Because at the end of the day, you can't, as a technology partner to the business, enabling the whole game plan is not about we do everything ourselves. There is always a fine balance that we need to strike between what we do, what we control, and what we buy, or what we take as a service, or what we co-create. So there is a fair bit of work that needs to be done. And while we do all of this, there is a fifth and most important, which I call it as RISC, the risk, managing the risk, managing information security related actions that we do that. And lastly, the compliance. Today we all know as we embark upon a very aggressive digital play, the more and more we are all being sucked into bigger scrutinies from regulators, from our own internal compliances external. So how do we balance and play the fine path is very important, and make sure the strategy around that as we embark upon the speed of action is managed. Because at the end of the day, one may go berserk in terms of growth, but if you don't have the right capabilities to manage this, and you don't have the right governance associated with it, we may end up doing a gate crash. Somewhere we may crash land. So we need to balance that. So that is the fifth area that we are really working towards. So to me, I think as a technology strategy, there are 5 key areas that I'm really working towards. You will see transformation incrementally coming up, and we will soon hear much about certain things that we're starting to embark within the technology teams in collaboration with a lot of the units to be able to transform some of the capabilities that we have while we continue to probably incrementally change what we have. That's what is important. We learn from past what we have done. We learn from our peers as well as the new age technology teams, as well as look ahead in terms of what some of the good technologies that we can adopt. We can't bring everything that is available because things change. So we have to be mindful about what is important for us, what's balanced for us to be able to bring in, and calibrate it accordingly and ensure it's a part of our technology roadmap. So I think there are good initiatives coming through. Yes, we need to also make sure that it's, at the end of the day, it creates value to the organizations. in terms of its growth and also help us in terms of manage risk. That's the way I would put it. Thanks.
Thank you, Prince. I will just make one follow-up question regarding that, because you have elaborated the technology requirement as well as the market changing scenarios. It is either the customer requirement or maybe the government. Because why I am taking this new question is like that. Because if you see earlier that FASTag was there. So all technology and other things they have developed FASTag, greater banks in the bank in the India like that ICICI, SBI, Axis and others, they have developed the infrastructure. Now we have heard that also government is going to remove the toll plaza and they are going to build the capture number plate etc. also. That means FASTag was there, so that is a wallet, something is there, either it is linked with the bank accounts or maybe direct debit to the accounts. But when the number plates comes, again requirement will come somewhere money will lie, where it will be debited. So the scenarios or as well government policies or the new technology comes. So just my question is the Naveen also, if such scenarios come, in that also how we are preparing to understand from the beginning itself and take the suitable steps with the help of technology as well as a digital channel.
So that the flavor of the season, everyone is talking about how is FASTag going to be replaced by some new technology. Obviously, it is some 2-3 years away. But it's very important that whenever there is some new concept that's coming, we in our mind we need to break up things in such a way that some of those things will sustain. So in the example that is mentioned, FASTag, there are 3 components. One, where the balance lies. It will continue to lie with a current account or a savings account or a prepaid account. It should not really matter. The only piece that could probably change is what happens at the toll plaza. How exactly the transaction or the car or the vehicle is detected at the toll plaza. Today, the infrastructure that is set up is trying to read a piece of sticker which is stuck on the car, and over a period of time, minimal changes that probably will be replaced by a number plate reading machine. And of course, number plates have to be replaced. That also is a process which will take some time, maybe 5 years from the date of launch or maybe from the time of launch. Maybe it could even take up to 7 years. But the matter of the fact is that innovation will continue to happen, because when the FASTag was envisaged, probably they thought that it will make it more efficient. Maybe we have realized that there is little bit more scope for efficiency from where we stand as we speak, and that is where we are as a country looking for answers beyond what is giving us one mistake. I mean, FASTag also is a very good use case where we have about 150-200 crores worth of toll amount getting collected every day in a digital format across only 700 toll plazas. I am sure in the country there are more than 10,000 to 12,000 toll plazas or a port or entry barriers where you have to be stopped and ask for a payment. Right? So we have only touched 7% of the overall possible ecosystem at this point of time with FASTag and with some known problems. So it's not really very late that and we will definitely, when the solutions come, as a ecosystem, that is where the partnership also plays. Bank knows how to manage the money, how to manage the settlement, how to manage the disputes, etc. There are certain specialist partners who come up with solutions which are very well designed to make sure that the experience at the plazas in this case is made better. So even in our case, when we have rolled out solutions with partners on the toll plaza, we know what we are best at, and we have to understand what is the part which we have to leave with the experts. And if we take such approaches, then the cut losses will be very good. And because the partners are also in the field of servicing this particular industry, I am sure they must be doing 10 things more than just accepting this toll plaza payment. Right? So that is how I think that is the beauty of partnership. Sometimes it actually helps the entire ecosystem to be doing things efficiently, especially in an agile environment.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you.
So we talk about partnership, we talk about specialists. That's where my next question is to Ajay. How are we planning to foster innovation? So we have already partnered with some startups. So my question is, how are we enabling startups to build a disruptive technology for us, or rather for the entire industry?
You see, we have a three-pronged strategy towards our engagement with startups or fintechs. Right? So the first strategy is partner with them, fintech as clients or startup as clients, Now that's something I already alluded to in my previous session. We probably were the early leaders on it. Now that Sumit is there, thanks to Sumit, I can again mention that we were missing it on that time. So I think it was the foresight of the bank that we wanted to capture that, and we've been a early operator. So that is fintech as clients, big revenue generator for the bank, big focus for the bank, and we'll continue to to lead around that. The second is fintech as partners. Now, this fintech as partners is what Naveen also touched upon, partnership with PhonePe, BharatPay, etc., where we've co-created solutions and delivered to the industry. The other part of partnership is where we partner with them to create solutions for ourselves. Now, Mahesh, for example, needs to develop a particular solution. There are two choices, right? One, we do it in-house. The second is we partner with a more agile partner, and we bring it in. Anupita is already standing. As soon as she heard partner and this, she stood up. But leaving that aside, there is immense sense in doing partnership and getting it developed outside and bringing it inside. Right? So that is the second part. We also use partnership to deliver solutions to our customers. Right? We go and meet government customers, we go and meet corporates, we go and meet a mid-market SME client. They all need digitization. Right? Government में तो मोदी जी ने बोल दिया कि digitize सब कुछ digitize करना है. अभी उनको they don't understand how to digitize it. Right? So they look to a certain institution to help them do that. Now, as a bank, for us, there is inherent value in capturing the whole government ecosystem. But digitization is not our forte, right? They want something to municipal corporation, want something to digitize life to death. I mean, as a bank, उसमें क्या करूँगा, right? So I go and bring a partner who develops the tech solution, but I embed my payment APIs, to collect and receive money. So it's a win-win situation. Government digitizes it, tech partner gets his business, and we get the account. Innovation at its best. Everyone knows. The third piece, which is where we are spending a lot of time now, is fintech as a connected banking partner. Right? So now, today, if you look at what we process, right, we are today, included 43% of UPI, largest processor of UPI volumes. Little known secret about this, we are the country's largest NEFT processor. Largest, more than SBI, more than HDFC, more than ICICI, more than anyone else, right? We are the largest IMPS remitter. We are the largest AEPS remitter. So all of this happens because of volumes which fintechs and partners are gaining from other large retail banks, right? So inorganically, that money from other banks is coming through Yes Bank counters. Now, why should I restrict myself to only being a settlement bank? Why should I not use that same partnership to go and acquire customers? So today with 1100 branches, there is only as much that I can acquire organically. But through these partners, we can acquire inorganically. Does it mean that, again, I'm cognizant of the fact that I'm in a risk strategy session, so does it mean that we will let down our guards and do some things relying on partners? The answer is no. We are only doing a technology integration. We will get the data ourselves, we will do the validation, we will acquire the customer, all of that will be done by the bank, but we use them as an inorganic acquisition funnel into the bank. So this is what I think Alok mentioned, the term connected banking, right? So this is where the future of the bank is. I am telling you, no jokes on this. We in the next couple of years will create an inorganic acquisition funnel for the bank, which will deliver multiples of what we do organically, right? With much lower cost, much higher efficiency, completely digitized, creating the neobank for the future. So this is really where innovation is going to lead us. We will create a very different bank over the next couple of years, and of course, none of it is going to happen without all of you here, and I would like to maybe take this opportunity to give a big shout to all of you today. with all those numbers that we spoke about, all the technologies that we spoke about, none of it would be possible without the support. You are really the unsung heroes. Guys, we come to the fore because we interact with the client and all of that happens, revenue gets generated. But really, without support from all the functions, right? Whether it is OR, ER, CISO, etc., it would not have happened, right? And it is touchwood incident free, which is again because we do it in the right manner, we do it in a partnership manner. Yes, there are frictions, yes, there are arguments, but either we convince you or you convince us, right? It does not fester beyond a point where there is so much animosity and friction. That is the power of partnership. That is the power of one time, right? So let this continue, and I can assure you that we will have a very different time for the next couple of years. We're very innovative, very digital strong, and very risk.
So, if you see in the new era of digital transformation, the challenge is for the traditional banking to get the new age customers. Because if we see in the, as per a study or survey, there are around 257 million new age customers are there. They have only digital accounts. And in the next 5 years, if we see, it is going to be increased around 357 million new age customers. So if, in my earlier days when I used as a branch banking and other things, that time we focus on that also millennials or maybe the new age customers. If we open a account for the 18 years old boy, that account will last up to next 60 years. So the focus for the main banking industry to get a new age customers. If you see the digital era as well as digital service customers, so what is the given intense competition in the digital space and presence of multitude of constructively disruptive fintechs? What is the bank plan to improve earnings through digital, giving digital performance as well as digital innovation to our customers? Yes, it is asking. Because both is that.
I know the volumes are growing exponentially, but the incomes are struggling to grow linearly. When you only look at payments or digital as a stream of income, but like Ajay alluded, it is not just the digital payments or digital volumes pertaining to that the income that particular thing would always be struggling to match up with the volumes. But what matters is what is the mindset that we are getting and what is the opportunity this particular mindset is presenting to us. That is where I think some of the partnerships going beyond what we have done so far makes a lot of difference to our overall future of the bank balance sheets. So if we're talking about getting a loan to our yes money agents or RFP merchants, or are we talking about having identified a good population of our UK customers who can be given credit cards or a salary loan? And like you rightly said, some of those use cases where we are launching as a co-branded prepaid card for students, can we actually latch on to them and finally make them banking customers forever? So these are the things that definitely have to come. That is where I think in the last 4 to 5 years when we started partnerships, it was very new for all of us. I think while we have always mentioned about contribution of some of these functions like OR or IS, I would also like to definitely bring to all of you one of the incidents that I recollect. We had to sign up a first co-branded program manager agreement with Freecharge, and legal team has turned around that particular agreement overnight. And I'm not really kidding, and I think that is the way that we have actually started our journey on this entire partnership. And today, one of the things that we keep hearing from the partners is how come you guys have been able to navigate through this? That's only possible because we have been open, debating with each other on what is possible, what is not possible, and finally make it happen somehow, right? So I think with this particular approach, if we go and also make our partnership extend to go beyond payments, then definitely we make revenue. And Ajay has already told that we will see a different bank with a different set of population which is coming in. Then I think all of us can count our share holding returns.
And to add to what Naveen said, right, we have to see that the whole ecosystem, the macro environment, actually is also, the Shahrukh Khan movie is there, right? That dialogue is there, right? So actually the macro micro environment is colluding to create a digital environment to harness this opportunity. And I'll give you a very quick example, right? And I would very strongly recommend maybe Google some of the Nandan Nilekani videos, to further expand on what I will just maybe say in less than a minute. So what the country did, right? So through Aadhaar, they created a digital identity. Aadhaar and various other things, that we did. उसके बाद में then there came account aggregator, right? Where they democratized your financial information and created an open market access for various institutions who are in the financial services, right? Banks, NBFCs, insurance, mutual fund, etc., etc. All of them are part of account aggregator. As a customer, I have the choice, consent based, to give information to whoever I want to give. Then they created open democratized credit. So data got created, information got democratized, credit got democratized with open. Now comes ONDC. So digital commerce, right? The whole digital commerce now will get democratized with ONDC. In fact, incidentally, I'm not sure how many of you followed this news, but Yes Bank was the first bank to got empaneled on ONDC or enable its customers to get empaneled on ONDC. So a lot of these will funnel acquisition into the bank, will create revenue streams which banks and of course it all matters which bank does it first. But it will create revenue streams for the bank at a much lower cost, at a much larger scale, with much less dependency in a fully digital way. So it's all how we capture the opportunity which is there. So सब कुछ है, we have to capture it.
Yeah. So now we talk about transformation. We talk about the numbers in billions, and the rate which digitalization is adopted by our customers, but the place where all this gets enabled by a digital infrastructure. So I would like to know from Mahesh, what are your challenges in adopting to this rapidly increasing demand, and how do you adapt to these requirements, and what are key challenges, right from regulatory, PCIDSS, PDP, there are many things in the line. So how do you plan to tackle these challenges?
I can continue for the next couple of hours, but I probably succinctly keep it. So technology is obviously touches anything that we do today in our life, right? Pretty much. Anything you do, whether you transact, whether you do a life insurance, whether you do any kind of payments or services or anything else, everything has technology as its base. When you deep dive and when you narrow it down to what we do with the bank, I think there is a fine balance we need to strike between what is new coming through the door first, in terms of opportunities, in terms of new age technologies, in terms of what's happening, changes rapidly happening in the market, vis-a-vis what we want to deliver to the customer, aligned to our business strategy of growth, and hence what is that customer experience we would like to play with. That's very important. And then on the right side you have what we call it as our entire compliance ask, whether it is security, being secure, being compliant, and the overheads that we are now starting with, regulators being fairly nosy about what they do. And the fact that when we do all of this, how do we manage our entire risk framework? Right? At the end of the day, anything and everything that we do cannot be in isolation to understanding the digital interplay that happens. So to me, I think the biggest challenge is the growing book of work that we do from a technology perspective. At any given point in time, when I review with my team, I think we sit with close to at least about 1,300 lines of changes that are coming into the system. All these changes need to ensure that there is value behind doing the change. Now, if you keep the regulatory aside, it is the value. I can make changes, it creates an impact on the sustenance of the application because it has to run, the service has to be running. And what is the value it gives to the customer? That's most important. Is it a me too? Is it a differentiator? Or is it something ahead of what you want to do? So that fine balance, vis-a-vis the fact that you have now regulators, now we have some seen over the last at least 3 months, SEBI has got so active, they think that we have some magical systems across the board where they give us 3 weeks to do changes. And now we have so many regulatory interventions that come, which also. So I think from a perspective of adoption, one of the things that I clearly see is that there is so much of change happening in the bank. In the last quarter, I would say we've done close to about 646 changes to the applications. I don't think we are ever measuring and even communicating, I think most importantly, communicating downstream as to how are these changes being useful to the organization. Keeping the regulatory aside, how are they getting useful to the organization? I think that creates a barrier to adoption. The other issue is the feedback loop, and I'm being upfront about it. A lot of the times, a lot of us sit in probably in corporate office, I would call it a bit non-aligned to the front line. Having come from there, a lot of my technology teams, I always encourage to say, go down to the branch, go down to your front line, go down to the back office teams, understand what they need to create more efficiencies and hence to adopt technology. That's very important. So technology adoption can happen not just by putting new, it is by understanding what is going to be better needed for the customer or better needed for our efficiencies and probably streamline your entire what actions you do towards it. That's very critical because if you don't do it, you're going to keep making changes. And out of everything, you probably will see you are using only 10% of it, but you spend crores of rupees on it. Classic example I keep telling myself, I keep getting shot myself, but I'm probably being internal. I think to open up our internet banking or a mobile banking for that matter, I think there are, last count that I did day before yesterday was 147 services that we had. 147 or slightly better. It changes a bit here and there. A lot of us use these services, not just yes and some other things. I doubt we use anything more than 15. I doubt. But we have a lot. So we need to really start saying as we go front, how do we really say these are the 10, we put focus on that, make that frictionless experience, better experience, so that adoption by customers is better. Now when you look internally, what are the kind of changes that we need to do to enable a risk team or whether ops team to do more straight to processing? Frankly, the technology can do magic, but it takes time and it takes more focused attention rather than spreading us thin. At the end of the day, we are all having 24 hours and with an X amount of manpower. We just need to be balancing ourselves between what we need to do, how can we do it, vis-a-vis all the other constraints we have across, and which gives us the bang for buck. I think that's very important for us because otherwise, today, I do believe that as a bank, we have everything. We have close to over 245 business applications. We have over 12,600 servers. And we have, like I said, about 670 plus terabytes of data. This is huge. Let's not keep that. And doing 600 plus changes every quarter, every thing, and it's only increasing. We can say we are agile, we are not agile. But it is what we have to be careful because at the end of the day, what do we do in the front end? How do we really make things work more smoother? How do we create experience? I think that's very important. So to me, a couple of areas that we probably need to improve ourselves is communication. A lot, and interestingly, we were in a good discussion yesterday with the retail team. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. So I think it is very important for us to communicate what is available. Means we never help our teams to understand what's available in the ecosystem. It's been over a year plus for me. Trust me, I'm still learning. I'm still learning every day. It also means how do we help package, especially the frontline sales team, how do we help package so that it can be better sold to the organizations or to our customers. At the end of the day, today customers are not expecting us to sell a savings account. They're expecting you to sell a solution to them to manage their lifestyle or investments. So it's important to package. So I think there are a mix of communication, training, adoption, and balancing the book of works that we have to say that if we have 800 people in our team, how does that 800 people make the best use of it to help the bank and sustain and grow? I think that's critical. It's always going to be I would say, yin yang to it, but it is about seeing how do you strike the right balance and continue to play along. I think that's the way I would put it. Thanks.
That sounds a good strategy and probably bring confidence to the business teams that infrastructure, the CIO team is well aware, capable, and also they are targeting the right focus areas to give the better customer experience for our bank. So I think that was a good takeaway, Harish. Probably that has enlightened me first, so, along with the audience. So that's great.
So we can ask if our audience wants to ask two questions or any one of the questions from our top leaders, they can feel free to.
Sorry, grab your chair.
Sorry, I'm going to ask you this question, and I have asked this of Anita also. You know, we are a technology company in the business of banking. Effectively, that is what we say. Everything that we do touches technology. My question from you is, what is the view on building the best versus building a workable solution? Because from a user lens, so a lot of time there is a delay in implementation. I'm not doing a blame. But to my mind, some of that is because we are trying to build the best solution, and there is never a best because 6 months down the line something new will come on top of that. So my view remains that we should build something which is workable and keep on adding to it. I know there's a problem because then you keep on adding, but then trying to build the best there's a lot of delay and a lot of times because you also have multiple projects and these projects will keep on coming. Just a few on it.
So Arun, I think it probably goes back to what I just talked about. To say that I think there is a bit of, we have to, the engagement that we need to have across the teams need to also ensure that we prioritize what is important to deliver the bang for the buck. That's important. Technology offers you a lot, but it is not that we have an unending supply of capabilities to keep delivering and changing. So as long as we are able to prioritize, rationalize, there is going to be a fair bit of capability build out that we can do to be able to streamline and focus. So for example, like I think I just mentioned, the 1,600 or 1,400 lines of book of work today that the teams are doing. We possibly, I don't think that kind of 1,600 lines is going to help deliver any value, much value. It is about saying that there are 50 things, 60 things that we need for every line of business, focus on that, get it delivered and see the value behind it. And if we are able to prioritize, technology teams along with its partners or OEMs are possibly then able to gear ourselves up to drive that. I can give you a classic example. When we did our budgeting process, and this goes back to probably 4, 5, 6 months back, it was interesting that we did a ground-up budget this time around. We went around asking what are the things required, what's your game plan for it. I don't think we got something, from some parts we got fantastic capabilities, what was required. From some of them we got a bit of a weak response to it. I think it is both sides for us to be able to have a much more, I would say, periodic interlocks and revision to what we have, where we align ourselves to saying these are the 20 things. We make sure that 20 things is delivered. There is things that we have to do properly, and there is things you will require from your own business perspective to do it. A lot of the times I see we do a lot of Me Too capabilities, and I don't think we should drive a Me Too too much, Me Too, but not too much. So I think the prioritization in my mind is very important, balancing what we have to what we can. That's very important. Otherwise, we will always be chasing our tails. Right now, if you look at right now what we look at it, we're still going into the chasing the tail kind of an approach. I can speak about it for long, but yes, short answer is prioritize, focus, and deliver, and engage. I think these are the 4-5 areas that I will focus on. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you so much. If we see that today's discussion as well as takeaways from this, collaboration with fintech is inevitable with the banking environment, because fintech, they are expertise in that also. They have made the solution, they have tested, they have made the partnership with the different organizations. That solution is tested. If the bank is going to develop, it will take time, it will costing for the manpower, technology, infrastructure. Apart of that, also changing regulatory guidelines time to time. So sometimes it will become costlier for the banks to develop each and every solution as per the customer requirement. If that is the ready solution is there in the market off the shelf, please get it, plug it, run it, like that. So if we see today's combination on the dais itself also, our technology head is there, our business heads are there, security officers are there, and this team, myself is there. So with this combination, we can assure, and with their commitments, we can assure our banks definitely yes, when shares are going to rise, as well as the customers will be delighted in our banks. So with that support, we can make good start for that also. Thank you so much.
Thank you.